let's say we're, two vendors. Okay, you have a software, I have a software. I have my customers, you have your customers. Okay, and there's about 100 people out there, 195 to be exact. These are countries, right? 195 people that do business with both of us. Okay. Out of these 195, let's take the top 40, the ones that matter the most. Germany, Italy, Mexico, Canada, these are the real, okay. Which one of those two, if you had to lose one of them, if one threatened you to say, to be with me, you cannot do business with the other guy, who do they need more?
That's quite a complex setup.
Meaning, I'm US, you're China.
Okay.
Who do they need more? Who can they not afford to lose? There's a reason why I'm asking this question. I think maybe you know where I'm going with this. Who do you think they need more? Who are they more relied on? Do they rely more on the relationship with U.S. or do they rely more on the relationship with China?
I think it totally depends. It totally depends on the specifics of the type of. We're talking about software. Of the type of software. China has made great progress in creating its own software, and still has a price advantage. There used to be the attitude, well, it's just copying and it's similar to the US, but it's cheaper, okay. But the US is really where the creative new ideas come and so on. And that's also being challenged in China because you've got new developments, things that are not even available in the US are available in China, and they're trying all sorts, of things with the various apps and combinations of services. And they still have the price advantage, although this is what, a tariff policy could address. I think really, though, it's beyond just, if you look at software, because you're looking at the sector where the US is doing best. And so perhaps that's not really the main concern, because, the US is doing okay with that one. It's the level below, which is still high value added, but is lower, where there's still some manufacturing. There's an argument for maintaining manufacturing in your country because manufacturing gives you basically the skill set required in having certain assemblies and manufacturing, and the people involved in that's also what creates new ideas about processes, how to improve processes, how to offer new things. Working with different materials, is so important. All the new materials that are being worked on. If you don't even have the manufacturing, you'll never get into the new materials. China is making massive progress in new materials, and the US in some areas has lost the skill set because it's been offshored.
There's there's not even by a little bit, by a lot.
Yeah.
Ever since they allowed China to join the World Trade Organization, we sent our manufacturing to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Even Nancy Pelosi talked about this in '96, right? Where she said, we charge 2%, they charge 35%. Our 2% made us 170,000 jobs. Their 35% made them 10 million jobs. Do you have that clip? Have you seen this clip? This right here. I don't know if you've seen this. This is Nancy
quite dramatic,
Pelosi.
Isn't it? Yeah, but it's true, yeah.
I think it's interesting to note that the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that reciprocal? On exports, China only allows certain industries into China, of U.S. Industries into China, and therefore only 2% of U.S. exports are allowed into China. On the other hand, the U.S. allows China to flood our markets with a third of their exports, and that'll probably go over 40%. And it's limitless because we have not placed any restriction. In terms of jobs, this is the biggest and cruelest hoax of all. Not only do we not have market access, not only do they have prohibitive tariffs, not only are our exports not let in very specifically, but China benefits with at least 10 million jobs from U.S.-China trade. The president in his statement requesting this special waiver said that China trade supports 170,000 jobs in the United States.
You can pause it right there.
170,000 jobs.
This is back in the days when she was a nationalist. Today she's more a globalist.
Yes,
so
sure,
she's made it. She's changed teams because she's about the world. She's no longer about what it was about our economy. So the question, okay, going back to it, who do they rely on more? Labor, China used to have the cheapest labor, where it used to be 20 cents to 50 cents an hour pre-joining the World Trade Organization. At that time, 2001, minimum wage in America was $5.15. So it was, let's just say it's 25 cents. It was 20 times cheaper to do it there than to do it here. Now, labor is not that big of a difference, China versus here. Matter of fact, there's an article that came up about Hafyuzan in Mexico, that China's building Hafyuzan in Mexico with their BV, whatever that car is that they're doing, the BVA something. What's it called, Rob?
BYD.
BYD.
Build your dreams.
Build your dreams for $9,600. They're building it in Mexico because labor is now cheaper in Mexico than it's in China. So they're kind of getting competition with labor that's going different places, right? I asked a question about how the other 195 countries, which one of us do they need more, is because if you remember what Trump did to Huawei, where he told everyone in the States and he told everyone in China, if you do business with Iran, I'm putting sanctions, you're done with us. So Iran wanted to do business with Huawei. The CFO, which was the daughter of the CEO, was in Canada doing a deal with Iran. If you remember that, he said, we're done with Huawei. Done deal. Was this the Trump administration hits China's Huawei with a 1-2 punch? This was in 2019, 6 years ago. So Trump's got the reputation to show that I'm going to go hard with this. What if Trump calls all the partners that say, hey guys, here's what I need you to do. I need you to not do business with China for 3 months. And if you do this, I'll give you 0 tariffs for the next 3 months. What if he puts that kind of pressure? What if because he's capable of saying something like that. He's now somebody that's going to be worried about it. What if he says something like that? What if he says, I will give you, to save you money, 0% tariffs for whatever, 12 months, 6 months. But in return, you have to tell me that you're not going to do business with China for 90 days. What if he does something like that?
Well, it could work. For some countries, this would be attractive. And if then they say, okay, this would disrupt the supply chains, this would disrupt the relationships, because suddenly, you have to find other sources, you have to find other partners. Once you've done that, you have actually let other companies from other countries substitute China, and then it could stick. To some extent, it could stick. So it could work. This hasn't been tried, and it could work. But really, I don't know. I mean, in many ways, yes, and this very aggressive policy with Huawei. At the time, I was a bit surprised how this lady who was the CFO, she was arrested and she was essentially kept, was it house arrest in Canada or something like that for a long time, a year or more. That was, to me, that didn't seem quite right, because these are sort of Soviet methods. That was a bit unnecessary. But you're right. As a result, he has this reputation of being very brutal when it comes to China. But is this really the right way of dealing with China? In my experience, it's not. And I think that's actually the reason why China has responded this way, because there is this baggage. There's this history of how President Trump has dealt with China. And sadly, that brings out this, the politics where they say, well, we're not going to be pushed around by President Trump in this way. We also want to be respected. You have to understand, I mean, it's like on the human level, everyone wants to be respected and countries want to be respected. Russia has the same issue. They want to be respected as an equal when they talk to the US. And now here, President Trump was the first who said, yes, we'll talk to them as an equal. And it works like magic, although still a long road to go, but it's clearly working. Why isn't he trying this with China? It would soften up China. It's particularly Asia, you see, it's all about not losing face, and being spoken to like that forces the Chinese leadership to respond strongly, even though really perhaps they don't really want to. They sort of have to. They can't lose face. Within Asia, within all their partners, all the relationships they've built up. And so it's an unnecessary risk to the world economy to have this very brutal trade, tit for tat, raising of tariffs, when really he should have the same approach as with President Putin and say, hey, let's go and have dinner. I'll show you some good American whiskey. You'll show me the fairly high octane stuff, and you start to, and this would work very well in China. And let's come up, he likes to make deals. The Chinese love to make deals. They're famous for it. So why aren't we talking about proper deals? It's because, in the past, things already fairly early on turned sour, and now it's all about not losing face, and now we have to be tough to each other. And it's a pity because it's unnecessary. China can be, the relationship with China can be moved so that it's beneficial for both, also for the U.S.
Nowadays, more than ever, the brand you wear reflects and represents who you are. So for us, if you wear a Future Looks Bright hat or a Valuetainment gear, you're telling the world, I'm optimistic. I'm excited about what's going to be happening, but you're a free thinker. You question things. You like debate. And by the way, last year, 120,000 people got a piece of Future Looks Bright gear with Valuetainment. We have so many new things. The cufflinks are here. New Future Looks Bright. This is my favorite, the green one. Just yesterday, somebody placed an order for 100 of these. If you watch the PBD podcast, you got a bunch to choose from. White ones, black ones. If you smoke cigars and you come to our cigar lounge, we have this high quality lighter cutter and a holder for the cigars. We got sweaters with the Valuetainment logo on it. We got mugs. We got a bunch of different things. But if you believe the future looks bright, if you follow our content and what we represent with Valuetainment, with PBD Podcast, go to vtmerch.com. And by the way, if you order right now, there's going to be a special VT gift inside just for you. So again, go to vtmerch.com, place your order, tell the world that you believe the future looks bright. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.